now come calling for your kid. Your forever Valentine, your Sophia Loren. I think she's calling for your kid. So let your voice ring out as your spirit soars. Cowboys and Indians whoop and roar, and let your soul be for you, light your path and guide you as it comes calling for you, kid.
Isn't that lovely stuff by Clara Rose? Really beautiful Irish singer, and that's calling for the kid. Really, really nice piece of music. That Reggie, a very good morning to you in Texas.
Good morning, Paul.
Have you got any burning fires on the rampage there?
Just the one on the sun.
Yeah, good man. Because Europe, Spain, and France are really, really struggling at the moment. So this,
It's
environmental
tragic.
change is for real. It seems, yeah. Anyways, we've got a busy day today, as always. Hello to everybody. We welcome you to the Sustac Plans Chat Club, where we talk about AI, innovation, and ethics in marketing and business, just for 30 minutes every Friday. And we post a link to everything we talk about on prsmith.org/blog. So we are going to be talking about AI buying, scanning, and burning books. We'll be talking about Sweden reversing the digital in classrooms. We'll be talking about the argument for no bans. And then a kind of a shocking one. We'll just introduce you to this. But a youth refuses to send a nude photograph, and then armed response officers knock on the youth's door. It's a really strange story, but we'll cover it with you, and we'll then talk about something which I think is going to become a lot more important in the weeks and months to come, and it's called not optimizing AI, but it's about AI divided by costs. Now, I'll say that again because I really think this is enlightening stuff about AI. So it's not about optimizing AI, it's about AI divided by costs. Now, I'll say something additional about the AI costs escalating beyond human costs, which is another angle. But we'll finish on a positive as always, and we're going to list, there's a list of 5 companies, but we'll focus on 3 companies really doing well with AI. And then we'll finish with time allowing a new concept for you, which is embracing hybrid AI. That's hybrid AI. We're going to hear an awful lot more about hybrid AI, I think, imminently. So let's get cracking on this first item: big tech burning books. So I posted this last night on LinkedIn and a few other platforms, and this is. Well, the question is this a malicious rumor? Is big tech burning books, or is it not? Now, there's an Australian video floating around showing a machine chopping the binding off books and then destroying the books, and it's popped up quite a few places, but I've been struggling to find better known sources that are citing this information. But I did come across the Washington Post, which reported that inside an AI startup's plan to scan and dispose of millions of books. So there's a court filing revealing how AI companies raced to obtain more books to feed chatbots, including by buying, scanning, and then disposing of millions of titles. Now, that's a quote from that source. That's the Washington Post. And that was last January, the 27th of January. So that's some time ago, but now there's more messages appearing, which kind of are worrying, really. So there's many messages, particularly on X or Twitter. So I wonder, though, if it is true, and I'm asking anybody out there, if you've heard any more information about this, please share it. If it is true, then some book retailers are going to make a lot of money, large profits for perhaps a short period. eventually AI companies will have acquired all or a lot of the knowledge created by authors and teams of authors. And it prompts the question, should we start hoarding books, particularly original copies or first prints, which seem to be pretty popular when they're buying up these books? So in addition to that, if this is all true, is this a major breach of copyright for the AI companies? Now, we've had a 15 billion case for copyright just gone through the courts, and that's a very significant one. And saying, yes, Mr. AI, you have been training on other people's copyright materials, and you can't do that. So, is it still more blatant AI stealing or taking other people's intellectual property rights, their books, and using it for training? So, just because they bought the original copies or the early editions doesn't give them copyright ownership of it, in my opinion. So
is the burning of the Paul, let me ask you a question. Is the burning of the books relevant to the rights, or is it just relevant to the fact that in order to scan it, they have to essentially destroy it, and so they're just disposing of the remains rather than reselling the used copy?
No, they're not interested in reselling the used copy at all. What they're doing, or what they're saying they're doing, is they've got these machines that are chopping off, like industrial level, just chopping the spine off the back of a book, and then the pages are loose. And then there must be a system, I'm guessing, which then scans each page in one by one, and then it then has acquired all the contents of that book, and then it can do its training on that data or that information. So it's really to become a source of knowledge, a stronger source of knowledge with less books available, is the theory. Is this all pie in the sky? Is it true? Well, there's a post that we'll put a link to, Brian Romele, and he calls Anthropic's activities confirmation of Anthropic's book burning for their AI, and he calls it the great forgetting of the amnesia generation. So we'll put the link in there if you want to see it. But this is meanwhile Anthropic's landmark, it was 1.5 billion settlement re-copyright claims, and that was covered by Reuters on the 6th of July. So Anthropic, making a settlement of 1.5 billion, which is significant money. And then July 22nd, Bloomsbury Publishing confirmed that it is amongst the beneficiaries of this settlement. So something's going on in the world of books. I mean, I suppose the popular thing would be, if they were buying up the books and destroying them, maybe it could trigger a whole boost in the book industry, because the publishers could start pumping out more of the originals and more of the contemporary editions and so on and so forth. So it might be good for books in a weird way. But I still think it's naughty in terms of copyright. So if anybody's heard any stories about this, please do let us know, because it's a bit of a weird one. Okay, let's park that. Reggie, I want to ask you about Sweden. The Swedish government has made a big decision just recently. What's going on there?
Yeah, they decided to hit reverse on digital classrooms. You know that education technology has been a big, it's been seen as a major advantage in education for quite some time, as more schools try to show that they are with the times, preparing the students for the digital world. Well, you might recall back in February, we talked about some Senate testimony from Dr. Jared Horvath, who was a U.S. teacher, former teacher turned cognitive neuroscientist. And this is mounting evidence that he reported on, which is that the Gen Z is the first generation in history to underperform their parents in pretty much every cognitive capability. And, the Flynn effect, which is the improving IQ over time, is reversing. And we're seeing also literacy rates drop. And this has just not happened before. And what he is saying, and a lot of cognitive neuroscientists are saying, is it's really when we went to that one-to-one device model for education, where every student has a laptop, where so much of the learning in schools happened on digital devices, that we started to see this trend. And in Sweden, the government is championing a renewed focus on physical books, paper, and pens, because it's designed to reverse the falling literacy rates. This is according to BBC's Maddie Savage. And this is an interesting trend. Alvin Fu on LinkedIn says that it's a smart course correction. He says that it's especially for kids under 6. Well, that makes sense. I mean, we know that kids under 2 shouldn't be looking at screens at all, and kids under 6, learning, humans evolved to learn from other humans, from human faces, not faces on screens, faces in real life.
Yeah.
And so there's mounting evidence that too much screen time too early weakens reading and basic skills, and that handwriting actually lights up more parts of the brain, that paper sources are better for memory, and that tech still has its place. We still have a place for tech. It's
Yeah.
just the foundations. For the foundations, the old style wins. But guess who's not happy about this? It's facing criticism. Can you guess who the criticism is coming from?
The big tech bros.
The tech companies. They're not happy about this. And some educators and computer scientists who argue that it could impact students' job prospects. I personally can't imagine a company saying, you up until like 4th grade did not learn on a computer, well then we're not going to hire you. I mean, there's so much time to develop digital skills beyond whatever grade they do this through. But I would think that it's actually, as more evidence comes out, unless so far the evidence completely changes course, and what we've seen so far turns out to not be correct. The evidence is going to come out that people who will learn with some analog tools are going to have better cognitive skills, better critical thinking, better memory. So it'll be interesting to see. The question is, how many countries will follow the science and take steps like this, or just stick with what they're doing because the tech lobby is so strong?
Yeah, the tech lobby is so strong. It seems to be controlling just about anything it wants to. Right. So there are some flaws, some major flaws with this approach. I think we look at those next week. So, bans like this, do they actually work? Nothing's perfect. And so there's bound to be some flaws, but we'll just touch upon those next week. So we'll come back to this next week and look at, what might be the counter argument by the tech companies or by teachers, by whomever. In fact, my daughter is ahead of year out in Dubai, and she was saying, she would challenge that. So I'll share you her opinion and some more official opinions next week about the blanket bans like that. Want to move on to a really shocking story I came across about a youth refusing to send nude photos, and then an armed response team knocks on the youth's door. I mean, this is unreal stuff. So the first contact is on TikTok. It's nice and friendly, and then they move to Roblox. And it's still friendly. 2 friends from the game move to Discord. The tone shifts. They want her to moan their names on a voice recording, and then they offer Robux, the in-game currency, as payment. Now, fortunately, the child has had a discussion with the parents about, online gaming and so on, and she says no. But then it escalates to nude photos, and then cutting herself, then carving one of their names into her body with a knife. Now, this is what they're asking her to do, and they're going to pay her for doing it. She refuses. She blocks them. Her home address is doxed and passed around new accounts. More strangers arrive in her inbox demanding the same content. And then in the middle of the night, armed officers with their guns drawn on a Dutch teenager and her mother based on a fabricated report of a hostage situation. So they're trying to disrupt her real world life now as well. This is not just more of the same. The threat is physical, immediate, and involves the state. And historically, sextortionists threaten to publish images, of a child's classmates or their family or their school. Terrible but abstract stuff. Swatting collapses the online threat into an armed law enforcement response arriving at the family home within hours. So they're manipulating the system, these freaks and perverts and so on. It's just a shocking story. At least the girl was sensible enough to refuse at various stages, but then she got the wrath of these nasties. So again, we put a link to that full story. Again, any parents out there, beware of this, of what's going on. It's absolutely frightening stuff. Okay,
it's called swatting. Swatting is what it's called when they send an armed response team. Swatting.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Good.
Yeah. So we'll put a link on pearsmith.org/blog to that full story. It's a real shocker. I mean, you think this couldn't be true, but it is. Right, now let's get down to more positive stuff. And I think this is going to become more currency going forward. When I say currency, I mean, it'll be more topical. I think this may be at a turning point in AI right now. So this is what we call AI optimized but AI divided by cost. So not AI optimized, but rather AI divided by cost. Reggie, please repeat that and tell me what's this going on here? What's this all about?
Not AI optimized, but AI divided by cost.
Yeah.
This is an article by Stephen Klein, and I think he brings out a really good point, which is actually something we've talked about. We remember how we made the comparisons to the dot-com boom
Yeah.
and the dot-com bust. And what
Yeah.
happened after the dot-com bust was people stopped irrationally spending on anything related to dot-com and e-commerce, and instead made more practical, profitable investments to solve problems and things that made sense, infrastructures that made sense, not just this spend on whatever sounds hyped up by this new dot-com era. And I think in the same way, we've made this comparison with AI, that through an AI bubble burst, we could see a more practical era of AI. And this is what Stephen Klein is saying, is that the future is not going to be determined by who can make the best AI, but yet who can make the most intelligence divided by cost.
Repeat that. That's an important comment. Can you repeat that, please, Reggie?
The future is not going to be won by those who can make the best AI, but by those who can make the most intelligence divided by cost.
Yep.
And the reason is because so far in America, we've seen a race amongst frontier models to be the top AI, the best model. And it's very much focused on this. I think a lot of it is on this idea of super intelligence that people are fascinated with, thinking that AI can suddenly become sentient. And yet that's not what we're seeing with transistor technology or with LLMs at all. But yet this idea that you've got to be the top one, it reminds me of the Cola Wars a little bit in the 80s. But, still, it's this idea of that. Meanwhile, in China, we're seeing there's more of a move towards open weight systems that are customizable, and this focus on efficiency. And yet we're putting a lot of money in investments into AI to make it the best by companies that are burning through huge amounts of funds to make it just a little bit diminishing returns smarter, as they call it. And yet I think that really there's a loss of connection to the practical value. How much is this really worth? And how much intelligence can we get per dollar we spend on it? And this is where Mira Murati, she was a former OpenAI executive, and she's moved to her own company. They're releasing a new open weights model called Inkling. And the interesting thing is it's based on an open weights model. That means that developers can download and customize the model without seeing the training data or the source code. And it's got a number of parameters. There are billions of parameters in these things that can be customized. And so it's something that can be customized towards a specific task. And that's an area we've also talked about previously being very valuable, is a specialized AI tool for a specific task rather than something that's smart at everything. And the benefit of that per dollar spent, the efficiency. And while the US is focused on this smartest AI model that's best at everything, China's making a lot of headroads with this efficiency model. And Stephen Klein is saying that that's what we're going to see success is as large language models become commodities. One is substitutable for another. And so really, once everybody has access to a large language model and anyone will do the job, it becomes a matter of which one is most efficient per dollar spent. So the frontier models may be the most powerful commodities and the most expensive commodities ever created in history, but it's an economic trap. And that's why we're seeing this move towards, how can we make this more efficient and get the amount of intelligence we need per dollar spent?
Yeah. So at the moment, the frontier models kind of are being super, super, super intelligent and can be a jack of all trades, I'm guessing. But this hints that perhaps certain AIs will specialize in areas of expertise. Maybe it might be maths or coding or languages or factual questions, or that might make things more efficient if you didn't have to burn your way through so much stuff.
If you start with a modular open weights model, anybody can take the open weights model and customize it for their own use.
Yeah, and train it accordingly.
It's much more flexible.
Yeah, yes, it would be. Yeah. So the hundreds of billions in data centers commitments and chip contracts and energy agreements have been signed. I don't know what's going to happen with those if they're not required, if they become more efficient, more tailor-made, or DIY versions. Then what's going to happen to all those big contracts that have been floating around? This bubble bursting thing may be a good parallel to think about. And there's another angle to this. That Stephen Klein post is fascinating. And again, we'll put a link to this and everything else we talk about on prsmith.org/blog. That's a powerful piece. I want to touch upon something else that I'm going to skip through. We'll come back on the 5 companies that are using AI really properly. We'll talk about those in just a second. But I want to just go forward and think about this idea of hybrid AI. Because I think it has an impact on the efficiency and effectiveness of the models that are being used. So I think what we're saying now, it's very expensive still. Do we need to spend that amount of money on these massive models, or is there a more efficient way of doing it? So this kind of introduced the concept of hybrid AI. Now, it comes from a piece that was written around Lenovo, and they were saying Lenovo, the company, is leveraging local, or what they call on-device AI. And this piece is written on the 23rd of July with the ThoughtWorks Technology podcast. So just some stuff that they said that caught my ear. And it says, when you talk about hybrid AI, you know, maybe you're in the same area as hybrid cloud. It's basically, how do you utilize the cloud? So 2 years ago, the consensus was to throw every AI workload into these massive cloud clusters. But now they're saying, well, the central cloud model, maybe it's becoming a bottleneck when you want to scale your AI. And why must the physical device landscape evolve to take on some of the heavy lifting? So one thing is for sure, the cloud is not going to go away. We know that. But the assumption that every AI interaction must travel to a centralized cloud isn't maybe as attractive or viable as it used to be. So, you know, as AI becomes more embedded in every device experience, then everyday device experiences, enterprises will be confronting with the possible 3 realities. So they've more options than if you're just going for the one big one. So latency affects the user experience. Moving data continuously is expensive. So mass swathes of data and putting in massive prompts and shoving it into an central AI somewhere, and then all that going through that central system, more data, and then it all coming back. That's expensive. Moving data continuously is expensive. And many categories of enterprise or personal data perhaps shouldn't leave the device in the first place. You know, there's security issues there as well. The PC and the broader device ecosystem are an active part of AI architecture. So there's a suggestion with hybrid AI that, you know, that you'll be asked, do you want to use a local large language model, for example, on your device? Or do you want to go to the cloud large language model? And that's pretty much it in simple terms. You know, do you want to go local or do you want to go central? And if you're going to go local, you're stepping into the beginnings of hybrid AI. So every AI interaction must travel to the centralized cloud. That's really expensive and a drain on energy, I would think, and other resources. So, you know, AI can become embedded in other devices, and therefore would start to think of it in a more hybrid way. So many categories of enterprise or personal data, as I say, shouldn't be leaving the device in the first place. So I think we're going to see less of a centralized cloud and more of localized. You know, fleeting level intelligence, enterprise knowledge, policy management, all of these will emerge as terms that you're going to see more of. Intelligent AI routing is another sort of term, and that's architecting that middle tier, you know, which sits between the user's device and the cloud. That middle tier, it's an orchestration challenge, it's an architectural challenge, and I guess the big question in simple terms is, should this query run on local, on the device's silicon, that it can give it to save battery and energy and so on and so forth. So the key, I guess, is user experience or the device experience. And so what we're going to see is this intelligent routing emerging where we'll just be a bit clever about where we're going, maybe to more specialized AIs, more local and so on. So anyways, we'll park that. I just want to introduce that concept of the hybrid AI world. Okay, and just going to jump back because we want to finish with a couple of nice examples, Reggie, of positive use of AI. Okay, so we've got just a few minutes left. Some companies that are actually using AI and are winning with it, what are they doing differently?
Well, according to Bernard Marr, someone that we follow and we like to read his stuff on this, is that
Mm.
what they're doing is they're using it for not just for efficiency, which is where we've started with AI, but using it for creating products and services and business models around intelligence, automation, personalization, and better customer experiences.
I like that. I really like that. CX. Let's see it involved in strategy and AI. This CX is so important. So, Reggie, they're saying that the CX is really important to successful use, building your AI into the CX, the customer experience.
Yes, to
Yeah,
rethink how they
yeah,
operate and where they create value and
yeah.
how the experience they're providing for customers. And so he gives 5 companies, and we'll list all of them. We'll provide the link to all of them, but we thought we'd look at just 3 of them today that are
Mm.
using it in a way to help enhance customer experience. Do you want to start with the first one, Paul?
Yeah, Duolingo. And then they teach learning languages, and they're using AI to build new products. So, great example of a platform that is using AI to create new products that it wasn't able to offer before. So, these include opportunities for language learners to role play, social, and conversational scenarios. Now, that's cool, isn't it? That's a great way of learning a language, is actually to role play. You pretend you're going to a shop, pretend you're going to a cinema and talk to a bot. It's great. You're going to a football match or watching the World Cup and try to speak in that language, and it'll help you. I think that's just brilliant. And so you're discussing with native speakers, bots, and you receive detailed and personalized feedback on their own progress. I mean, I'd love to learn a language that way. I think it's just great. So they generate and develop course content and learning pathways and scenarios and all that good stuff. I mean, it's added value. It's a beautiful CX. So that's one to keep in mind. Back to you, Reggie. Oh yeah,
So
Salesforce.
go ahead. Go ahead. You were
Yeah,
talking about Salesforce?
yeah, please.
I'm talking about Klarna is the one that I'm looking at.
Okay, yeah, you leave Klarna then for a second. Well, actually, no. Tell us about Klarna. Yeah.
So Klarna is a financial buy now pay later financial services company. That's where they started, but
Yeah.
they've invested in AI, and now they've evolved from just that to really enhancing the whole shopping experience with these AI assistants, where you can help shoppers discover new products, compare prices, and make more informed decisions. But ultimately, they're creating touch points across the customer journey, and going from a simple payment processor to an AI shopping assistant that can help improve the experience in a number of ways that maybe they might not have envisioned when they first created a buy now, pay later financial service.
Mm, yeah. I like this kind of sort of concept. It's very clean and easy to get your head around, and the idea of the customer being at the center of it all. Another one is Salesforce. So they've enabled the agentic workforce for the company. So they've renamed it Agent Force, and it's agent as a service platform. That's what it is. It's positioned as a gateway for every business into the world of AI virtual workers. So Salesforce strategy with their AI strategy is to become the picks and shovels seller for the AI gold rush. Uh, what does that mean? Well, it's about automating tasks and streamlining workflows. Now, I like that, streamlining workflows. And I think I might have mentioned this to you, Reggie, but with Sustack Planning, we're going to integrate Sustack Planning using AI right into the workflows, the actions and the control piece right into the workflows, because that's what feedback was telling us people wanted. So I like this idea of bringing AI and integrating it right into the workflows and automating certain tasks and then letting people do the ones in between. Look, we'll put a link to all of those companies using AI in interesting and new ways. So that'll be on pearsmith.org/blog. We're going to stop there because it's 1:30. Would you believe how time flies when you're having fun, Reggie? So we're going to play out. We will see you next week. We're going to play it out with Clara Rose. I really have got to like this lady, the music. So here's Clara Rose to see us off. I hope you all have a great weekend, folks. All the best for now.
Your deep blue eyes, they've seen it all. They're closing in now on your kiss. Their twinkle never faded, the music that you made. Hear the drummer counting in the kiss. So let your voice ring out as your spirit soars.
See you, Reggie.